Greetings and good day. This is Donnie with TechWinner, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, guys, my friends at AZDome, who, yes, sent me the M550 dash cam to test a while back, have now sent me a new product to test, kind of in a relatively new market. Yes, the rear view mirror cameras. And yes, we're talking today about the PG17 model, folks. So today, we're going to go ahead and get this set up in my car. I'm going to show you as much real-time footage as possible and give you my take on this product. So without any further ado, let's dive in and let's take a look. So guys, I know it's been a minute since I've had the opportunity to put out a new video, and thank you so much for joining me today. I am getting back into a normal cadence of doing this. I have several products that I have been sent for testing, and that first one in the lineup is the AZDome PG17. So I've had the opportunity to test this over the last several weeks, and AZDome is not compensating me beyond gifting me this product for testing, and this review today that I'm going to give is completely my honest opinion. I've not been coerced to say anything about this product. I have a good relationship with them, but I'm also going to be honest about the strengths and some of the shortcomings of this product as well. So just kind of diving right into that installation, just installing a dash cam. I've done this several times now, which is some of my testing, and this one is very unique. What I like about this one is it has two rubber straps that basically strap over the rearview mirror. And I like this one in particular because that camera is attached to the screen itself. Yes, that is an 11.8-inch LCD display that has kind of a unique shape to it. So it's not a perfect rectangle. It has that camera on the front. It also has the cabling in the top of it to attach a camera to the back of your car as well. So a couple of options you could do there. You can put it at where like your license plate is. There is an optional mount that AZDome sent me that you can attach to your rear window. I just prefer having it there. It's easier to install inside and not having to fish things through the trunk and get them out the back of your car. It's complicated. I know it's possible. It's just not something I really honestly wanted to take on. So I do have a pry tool that I was able to kind of get this cabling tucked in for that cable run that went to the back of the car. And of course, this also has a GPS receiver on it as well, which is really helpful because it actually puts that GPS information on the bottom of your recorded video if it's something that you want. And of course, this also came with a USB, yes, it's a mini USB connection with a DC connector that I was able to route around, have plenty of cable. I could hide that inside the dash and get it all the way around to the DC plug that I have in the center console of my car. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm still driving the 2011 Infiniti G25. The wheels have not fallen off yet. We're going to keep driving this puppy. And just kind of going into a little bit more of that installation, guys, honestly, the longest part of it is just the cable management. And some of that is just me being a stickler for trying to make sure I'm not seeing cables. Cables drive me nuts. And I really like that that one front-facing camera is integrated into the screen itself, because that's one less thing to plug in, one less thing to have to connect to the windshield. There is a potential downside of that, and I'll point that out in just a moment. But just kind of getting into the user interface for the AZDome itself, yes, this camera does come with a 64 gigabyte micro SD card. So that's going to get you several hours of recording. I still recommend just purchasing a 128 gig card. Samsung is usually my one of choice there. I'll put a link in the description to both this product and to an SD card as well, along with the bracket that you can put in the rear window if that's something you want to do for installing that camera there instead of outside of your car. But just looking at the user interface on this, it's very user-friendly. It's very easy. Learning curve is very simple. AZDome does have an app that you can use to get to some of the recordings on it. In my experience, it's kind of clunky. You do have to connect to the Wi-Fi network that this thing actually outputs to make that work, which you do want to do, honestly, for that first time setup, because it syncs the clock, which is really easy and it's really important as far as those recordings if you have the time that's embedded underneath the bottom of those recordings. So you'll want to do that. But ongoing, honestly, the easiest thing is to pull that SD card out and just get those recordings from it there. But just first impressions of looking at this screen itself, it is very wide. It's awesome. It's got the ability to basically take a look at either the front view, the rear view, or you can do them side by side. What I like about that side by side is you're getting that full picture, kind of that 16:9 widescreen format, as opposed to like the ultra wide where it's going to crop and you kind of have to push these up and down arrows to be able to get the full view of what you're seeing, what the camera's capturing at any given time. But other than really getting the cameras oriented just right, I found myself really, for the most part, using that 1 minute timeout to where that screen would just go dark. And really, I was just looking at that mirror. At nighttime, however, having that rear camera incredibly handy, especially if it's harder to see and you're backing up. I really loved seeing that. And just kind of going into just real quick, showing some of that night recording. I drove it on a rainy night, and the quality on this thing was still, in my opinion, very good. And yes, that is a 2K camera that's pointing out in front of you and a 1080p camera behind you. So standard HD and then 2K quality moving forward. And just kind of looking at some other footage here with, everybody always has the question about the license plate. In my experience, again, if you were within 25, 30 feet, you could see the license plate. Beyond that, it's still a little bit tricky, which has been my experience with most of the cameras in this lane. You know, comparing this to something like the M550 where it's a dedicated camera, I still think it had a little better quality than what I had here, but I do really appreciate having that display. A couple of nitpicks on the on-screen menus itself that really are very specific to me. I just don't like having the 24-hour clock. I like to have AM and PM. This particular one doesn't have a setting for that. And one other thing with another sister company that I tested with the Lingdu rear view mirror, it actually gave you the speed on the mirror itself. I really would like to see that on this product as well. It just wasn't there. However, the handoff of having that dedicated camera, to me, this is a better product than the Lingdu solution. But I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out my video about that specific product as well. One downside, I would say, it's a little bit farther from the windshield, which means I think there's an opportunity for a little more light pollution from reflections inside of your car. In my case, if it was a little foggy in the morning, it seemed like it picked up a little bit more of that, maybe distorted the image a little bit. Not enough to say that it's not capturing anything, but it definitely wasn't crystal clear quality like if a lens was right up against the glass, if that makes any sense. However, just looking at a little bit more of this footage, I love that it's got the latitude and longitude. All of that is basically embedded into it, including your speed as well and a clock. It has all of those things that I would expect to see in recording. And of course, in the settings, if you prefer to not have that information captured, you can turn that off and it won't do that. But again, I just love the recording. You can do this in 1 minute, 3 minute, and 5 minute increments. So in my experience, I went ahead and put it to that 5 minutes. And with a 128 gig card, I still was able to get, I would say, 8 to 10 hours of drive time footage before it started overriding some of those older recordings as well. But guys, user interface on this, incredibly easy. If you want to swap between those views, basically you just kind of swipe across the screen. That swipe basically toggles you through that full screen front view, the full screen rear view, or having that side by side as well. And then there's a button that you can just use just to mute it immediately if it's getting in your way. But guys, just conceptually, I like this idea of having that view, that mirror that we've all used as just kind of a natural display, to actually be able to digitize that and be able to get unique content on that screen when you want to have it there and be able to get it out of your way quickly. And the AZDome PG17 really does fit that bill incredibly well. I still feel like you're kind of an early adopter if you go with a concept like this, but I do love it. And I've actually noticed in my driving, which I've been commuting more for work lately, kind of in this post-COVID world now, I've noticed several others with these displays as well, and just using these in their day-to-day driving. So maybe this is a new concept that really is catching on. One other thing about just the built-in rear view mirror on my car, it does have those buttons for like the garage door. You can still easily reach those, so that was not a huge issue for me. But just having this additional layer of information right there in front of my eyes, incredibly handy when I need it, and it gets out of the way when I don't need it. And let's take a look at that price. Right now on Amazon, this product sells for $129, and as of the making of this video, there's also a $35 off coupon that actually takes us down to 95 bucks. Special thanks to AZDome again for allowing me to test this model, and tell me in the comments if this is a form factor that you have decided to adopt, and if I didn't cover everything that you wanted me to cover, let me know that in the comments as well. I love getting feedback from you, and perhaps I can answer some questions that you might have there as well. Thank you so much for joining me today, and if you haven't already, I would ask you to consider liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification so that you can always stay up to date with new content as it's uploaded. But for now, I'm Donnie with Tech Winner, helping you make winning decisions when it comes to your tech. You guys have a great day.